Hello everyone, welcome back to Affinity for Commander, where today we're abiding by the new rules and having a legendary artifact vehicle as our commander. As always, like any of the cards you see here today in this video, please make sure you have all your purchases being done through one of our lovely affiliate links in the description box below. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but really helps channel out quite a lot. Now, let's get to seeding our spacecraft. That sounds kind of wrong, doesn't it? Hearthhull, the Worldseed, is a legendary artifact spacecraft for 1 generic and Jund mana. They have Station, which is a new mechanic whereby you can tap creatures to put a number of charge counters on them equal to that creature's power. At +2 counters, the spacecraft gains 1 generic mana and tap. Sacrifice a land, draw 2 cards. And you can play an additional land this turn. And once they have 8 charge counters on them or more, they become a Flying Vigilance Haste 6/7, with whenever you sack a land, each opponent loses 2 life. So Hearthhull is another entry into the Jund's land matter category, with Hearthhull wanting them more being sacked for value rather than landfall triggers. But on the other hand, we're going to be needing to have a ton of land in play so we can sack them and not, have 0 lands in play. So we're going to be needing a lot of landfall effects, as well as maybe some landfall triggers to get us some advantage on the board and advance our game plan of reducing our opponent's life totals to 0, with then the added spice of sacrificed triggers. Let's get to it. At the 1-drop, we've got 3 cards to help us sack our lands in Orcish Lumberjack, Sylvan Safekeeper, and the Exploration Brood Ship. Now the Orc is only for us, but that is most of our land base, and the Wizard gives protection with Shroud. Now the Brood Ship does need to be stationed first, but then turns into, an exploration. And then a means of giving all cards in our graveyard flashback, but with also, needing to sacrifice a land. Crop Rotation helps us surge up any specific lands we need, Groundskeeper to get back the basic we just sacrificed, and Iridescent Vine Lasher to ensure when we play that land again, we're damaging our opponents along the way. And with a Deathrite Charm for ramp and graveyard hate, that is the 1-drops. Which, still my favourite 1-drop ever. Just so much. Now up to the 2-drops, and this is where we get some proper land ramp, and also one of my actual favourite cards. Seeking Far, Law and Nature, and Visits Thrice are the standard hill that I will continue to die on as being the perfect land grabbers. Followed by a Satya Wayfinder to fill our bin, hopefully with other lands to get back with Aftermath Analysis later in the game. And of course, Lotus Cobra, who will hopefully be there to see all these lands entering, generating a bunch of mana. 2 cards would also love to see all these lands entering are Sabo Tender to tend our opponent's life totals away a little bit, and Tifa Lockhart, who, after only popping 4 lands back into play, becomes a 16 power creature. Our removal is Infernal Grasp, as it's simply good, World Soul's Rage to also hopefully grab back our sacrifice lands from the bin too. And Assassin's Trophy, as we can also use this on one of our own permanents to get a basic should we really need the land drop trigger. The last 2 cards are Jury, Master of the Review, a creature that's going to get bigger and bigger the longer they're around, and Rakdos Charm. One of my favourite cards. They are so versatile, being able to ruin any graveyard deck, destroy someone's Soul Ring, or just make a token player take a ton of damage. Now up to the 3-drops, and this makes up the bulk of our deck, with the primary means of getting lands into play to be sacrificed to our commander and also, various other effects. Cultivate, Entish Restoration, Harrow and Roiling Regrowth all help get more lands into play, with all but the Cultivate letting us sack a land as well to trigger our commander's last ability. And Mayhem Devil plus the new cards of Evando Brush Razor and Scouring Swarm would love to see these lands being sacked. The Devil just for general damage, the Bush Razor for impulse style card advantage, and they themselves come with a sack outlet attached, and the Swarm being the weird inverse of Scoot Swarm, which we are of course also running, but the flying variant also makes copies of itself when a certain threshold is reached, and now they fly. And it's also about sacking lands rather than just playing them, so it goes into our deck's theme a lot more. Now for general advantage, Augur of Autumn lets us play lands on the top, and then with a varied board state, creature spells as well get to be played. Nissa Resurgent Animus is another copy of Lotus Cobra, but this time with an additional ability to dig through our deck to find an elf or elemental, which, we have a few, including Spring Bloom Druid, yet another land sacker, and Ramper. Tyler's Tracker is going to be generating us clues for all this land grabbing. Urg, Spawn of Turg, is hopefully going to be a big boy and also acts as a land sack outlet. And the last card being a tutor in Realms Uncharted, in a damned either way kind of scenario, as we either get the lands to play or we're going to be getting them back later with any of our reclaiming effects. Now up to the 4-drops, and here we're going to start seeing some of our actual win codes, including one card that I'm getting to be more and more fond of as time goes on. Scape Shift, a beautiful sorcery, as we've got our commander to be a creature and we just sack all our lands. That's going to be a ton of damage and then a ton of landfall triggers. We'll be getting more lands into play for this dream to work with Sky Shroud Claim, Oracle of Moldiah to play additional lands, and also lands from the top, and then Splendid Reclamation to grab them all back from the grave after we've, sacrificed them. We're then also going to keep 2 more cards from the actual precon deck in Baloth Prime to make us 4/4s every time we sack a land, and then getting a 10/10 attacker is not a bad thing. And Immudium Waste Waker, who has a great attack trigger, but no evasion, so they might just die, due to damage. But the encore means this is card shredding for our opponents, and card drawing for us. The last creature at 4 CMC is Soul of Windgrace, who is more about discarding lands, but he does get the lands back that we've sacrificed on ETB and attack, so he does have that going for him. Now up to the 5-drops, and the 5-drops are mostly creatures, so it shouldn't be really too surprising that we are running the king of sacrificing. Corvold is a draw engine and is going to become a massive flying beatstick. Same with Mazurek, but they get bigger whenever anyone else sacrifices anything. And God Eternal Bond 2 has a nice ETB for card draw and getting more lands into the bin, and will serve as a good blocker as we kind of want him to die to be able to get that trigger again. Titania loves seeing lands go to the grave to make 5/3 tokens, which the Git Rogue monster is super helpful for, and no, we're not running the Dakmor Salvage combo because I don't hate myself or my playgroup enough for that. And the last creature is the alternative commander, Sazerael Genesis Shepherd, who I did swap out because A, he's 1 more mana, and B, his ability is a lot more geared towards a wider board state and would need more counter synergies to really pop off, and honestly sacking lands as a theme with Hearthhull is just way more interesting. The last 3 cards at 5 CMC are Windgrace's Judgment for a cheeky 3/1, Escape to the Wilds for a last bit of pseudo-ramp, and finally a new card in Planetary Annihilation, a damage-based board wipe that limits everyone to 6 lands. But this does mean that our Spacecraft, hopefully who is a creature, doesn't die due to having 7 toughness, plus they see a load of lands being sacrificed to trigger. And the last non-land cards, our high end, who are essentially just big hitters to, hit our opponents with, really. Morag, Fury Overcome to let us gain for more damage with additional combat steps, especially if we're hitting with cards like Multani, because nothing says green like a massive creature with trample. Which is then the cue for Rampaging Baloths to make their contractual appearance in a Lands Matter deck. And then to round off the show with Omnath to make more tokens, so them and Titania can be best friends forever, as bolting something anytime a token is dying is always funny. And lastly, World Breaker, an exile or uncast for our opponent's Rhystic Study, and then a sacrificing of a land to get them back. Beautiful. Now onto the lands for the deck. Now obviously, since we are wanting to be sacrificing a lot of lands, the fetch lands or cards like Fabled Passage are an obvious go-to for this deck. However, I do understand that some of them can be, rather pricey. So for the more budget-orientated, cards like Twisting Landscape, Evolving Wilds or Terramorphic Expanse also do the job just as well, but they will obviously not be as great for colour fixing or speed of the deck considering the lands have come in tapped. But both Wasteland and Strip Mine also sack themselves to get rid of our opponent's lands, and the new Imodium Hatchery is a great land to get to turn 1 or 2 and then sacrifice in the late game to say, the Sylvan Safekeeper, to then get a bunch of black insects. I would also recommend the Surveil lands here, as obviously they can be fetched, but then also the option to get a land into the bin for reclamation later on is also good synergy. Overall, I do like Hearthhull as a Jund land matters deck because it does have that unique slight twist on it in that it cares about the lands being sacrificed, not just put into play. And that tiny little heel turn makes it a nice contender for a different and unique deck, rather than just being, watered down Lord Windgrace. Plus the station mechanic lets it dodge early game creature removal and board wipes, while still giving us a card draw engine to work with. Can't really escape the, Tyrannid or Flood feeling that this whole deck gives me though. Maybe it's just the setting. What are you gonna do, I guess? Apart from, obviously, call the Ultramarines and maybe exterminate the planet, because honestly, have you seen some of the art for this? Terrifying. And that will be the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. What cards are you excited about from Edge of Eternity? Let us know in the comments below. As always, all Affinity for Commander content is made possible thanks to support of our amazing patrons. You guys are truly awesome. If you're too large to become a patron of the channel and get access to exclusive EDH related rewards, then be sure to check out our link in the description box below. But that'll be it from me for now, guys. As always, I've been Alex, and I'll see you next time.